nature of radiation and matter. Today, in the first lecture with introduction, we are going to study the topics electron emission, types of electron emission and photoelectric effect. Let us study one by one. Introduction. Students, in the 17th century, for all physicists, there was a curious question that is about light. What actually the light is and what is the behavior of light. So, in the 17th century, after many experiments, a great physicist, Christian Huygens, proposed a wave theory. According to him, the light behaves as a wave. In the same era, another physicist, Sir Isaac Newton, also proposed that is particle theory, and according to him, the light behaves like a particle. So, we can say the idea of duality originated in a debate over the nature of light and also matter. So, this started in the 17th century itself, and later on with many experiments by different scientists on the behavior of light. By the end of 1923, all physicists came with some results. That is, some of the phenomena of light like diffraction, interference and polarization could explain only by wave nature, and some of the phenomena like black body radiation, photoelectric effect and Compton scattering could explain only by particle nature. But there were some of the phenomena like rectilinear propagation, reflection and refraction which could explain either by wave theory or by particle nature. With all these experiments results, we can say through the work of many other scientists, the present scientific theory holds that the light and matter both have duality. Light sometimes behaves like a particle and wave in the same way. Matter also sometimes behaves like a wave and particle. So, let us go to the topic in detail with basic ideas. We will go with the first definitions, that is about electron emission. What is electron emission? The ejection of electrons from the surface of a metal is called as electron emission. We know that electron is responsible for the conductivity in a metal. But what happens when electron jumps from metal surface? Immediately the metal surface acquires positive charge, and due to the attractive pull, the electron will come back. So, if an electron has to come out of the metal surface, it has to come out of that attractive pull. So, that needs some minimum energy. That minimum energy we call as work function. So, we can say the definition of work function, that is the minimum energy required by an electron to escape from the metal surface is called work function of the metal, and its a symbol we give as phi naught. The unit of work function is electron volt. Here we know that E represents a charge, and the value of charge is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. And if we multiply that with 1 volt, then we are getting its unit, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19, and the unit of energy is joule. So, we can define it as the energy gained by an electron when it has been accelerated by a potential difference of 1 volt. Okay, now we understood the electron emission. Now, how to emit the electrons? So, we have some different physical processes to emit the electrons. Let us study few physical processes one by one. The first point we can call as thermionic emission. The process of emission of electrons when a metal is heated is called as thermionic emission. The electrons emitted in this process are called thermions. You can see in the picture, when a metal is heated, from the hot filament the electrons have come out. Second is field emission. The process of emission of electrons by the application of very strong electric field at the surface of a metal. It is called as field emission, and sometimes it called as cold emission. You can see in the picture there are two different plates which are connected with a positive and negative terminal. We know that always electric field starts with a positive to negative side. So when electric field is moving from positive to negative side, obviously the electron will attract from negative side to positive side. So if the field is strong, then we can say the electrons can easily move from negative to positive. This is the process. This we call as field emission process. We will go to the next one, photo emission, or you can say photoelectric emission. When light of suitable frequency illuminates a metal surface, electrons are emitted from the metal surface. This process is called as photoelectric emission. Let us see a small animation through which we can understand. You can see here, when light falls on a metal surface, immediately the electrons will eject, and those we can call as photoelectrons, emitting photoelectrons from the metal surface. You can see here. Now we can go for another definition, that is secondary emission. In this method, a very high speed beam of electrons strikes on metal surface. Because of that, the electrons which are in the metal will jump, and those electrons we call as secondary emission, emitted electrons. Therefore this process we call as secondary emission. Now we will go to the another photoelectric effect. So the phenomena of emission of electrons from a metal surface when radiation of suitable frequency is incident on it is called photoelectric effect, which already we know. The current produced by photoelectrons is known as photocurrent. This was discovered by Hendrik Hertz in 1887 during his electromagnetic waves experiment. Now let us go with two more definitions, like threshold frequency and threshold wavelength. What is threshold frequency? The minimum frequency of light which can eject photoelectron from a metal surface is called threshold frequency. Remember, this is minimum frequency. And another definition we go with a threshold wavelength. This is the maximum wavelength of light which can eject photoelectron from a metal surface is called threshold wavelength of that metal. Now the relation between work function and threshold frequency and threshold wavelength is phi naught is equal to h nu naught, that is equal to hc divided by lambda naught. Don't confuse nu naught with a v naught. Here nu is a Greek letter. Okay, so nu naught is represented as shown in the bold letter. Okay, thank you students. We will study some more points in the further class.